Most of the geotechnical consulting companies, you're going to hire them to deliver you a single goal. I don't deliver a goal, I deliver a system. So senior management can visualize and be assured that their facilities are being managed according to the best available practice and technology.
Good morning, good afternoon to our audience. It's an absolute pleasure to have with me our special guest today, Fabricio. Fabricio is CEO and founder of FAB5 GeoSolutions. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today. Fabricio, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for the invitation, Jordan. I'm thrilled to be here. The way I usually introduce myself, I'm a Brazilian by birth and Canadian by choice. I'm today the founder and CEO of FAB5 GeoSolutions. I've been in the business for 2 years, give or take, but I have 15 years of experience in the industry, in the mining industry experience, working in different jurisdictions through rock mechanics side of the things into the tailings management side of the things as well. I'm here to share a little bit about the journey, about myself, and what makes me to be where I am today.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Yes, I'm very excited to have you here. Yes, you've spent 15 years in the mining industry and made some career moves that have really shaped the perspective, and then you have founded FAB5 GeoSolutions just recently with a specific vision in mind. So could you please walk me through a little bit about your journey and what led you to focus so strongly on governance and mining?
So the 15 years that I've been in the industry, I've seen a lot. I've worked in Brazil, Canada, Indonesia, New Caledonia, have exposure to US, some of colleagues in Chile, Peru, Australia, and a common theme came across every single time I was having that conversations. And some of those conversations, usually they happen after a major geotechnical failure. From a technical perspective, I do believe the industry understands very well what are the technical components that led to the failures. But when you read the reports, and I've read 40 reports over the last 10 years related to geotechnical failures in open pits, stockpiles, waste dumps, tailings facilities, water dams, one component for me it's always missing. It's the governance aspects of the things, the management system behind the human and organizational component of that failure. And when I was trying to come with a vision of the company to not be just one more consulting company in the market, I wanted to be one that can be trusted, that can deliver you not your report and audit of findings. I want you to deliver you your final destination, your outcome, your system that it's going to work no matter what your goal is. So that's how I envision to build the company around those frameworks of the governance framework. I think we are doing pretty good so far, because the more we talk and the more the industry evolves in understanding that terminology and what that governance framework actually is, the more I hear that there's still a little bit more to be discussed.
Technical failures in mining are caused by a lack of, are rarely caused by a lack of engineering knowledge. The mining industry understands really well the engineering. However, the challenge is managing risk, accountability, and oversight properly on a corporate level. So FAB5 has 5 pillars, correct? And governance is one of them. Could you expand a little bit on the other pillars, and how do the other 5 pillars actually help companies solve the gap between technical knowledge and organizational execution?
Oh, that's a nice question. And one of the reasons that I put the 5 there is to be a conversation initiator. So the 5 is, yes, number 1 is governance, absolutely. The second one is risk. The last couple of years, especially when you move from operational to more corporate and management position roles, managing risk becomes something that's just innate to the job. In the last 2 years, I've been more in depth in that world, in doing a lot of more critical risk and critical control management. So risk is the second pillar. The third one, it's instrumentation. Post Brumadinho, the failure, I've led a huge data gathering automation program for one of the big mining companies in the world across 4 jurisdictions. So instrumentation is a big one for me. I kind of understand a little bit there from instrumentation assessment perspective. The fourth one is the technology. I also led in that same company the technological roadmap. So I scouted in that initiative the road, any single piece of technology that we could think of that could be deployed into the tailings management aspects of the things, we've mapped. So that resulted in more than 220 solutions just for tailings management purposes. And the fifth one, innovation. I'm a huge believer that the innovation is here and is here to stay. And we automate way more of our instrumentation. We increase the data frequency of instrumentation readings. We need to think in innovative ways to keep up with that and having the ability to analyze and assess what the instrumentation and all the information is giving us. So these 5 pillars, if you think about they combined, they are your framework. They are your management system that together, integrated, they can deliver a robust, resilient, and reliable management system. And that's how we do. We initially we do through the governance, and the other ones they're just gonna come and play and adding those pieces together to give you a more assurance of how you're managing your facility.
Yeah, and that's a question that comes into my mind. From our perspective, and what we're seeing that tailings are being utilized in many different methods. Like for example, tailings is waste that needs to be managed because of the closure of the mine. It's left in the communities, and it needs to be well managed. And also, some mining operations are using historic tailings for cash flow when during pre-extraction phases to try to repurpose or reprocess the above ground tailings. So what would you see is the biggest priority when it comes to tailings management?
I think the industry as a whole now, from a tailings perspective and tailings engineers and consultancy and mining, the first one is to regain societal and investors' trust. I think our trust is, I would say, close to its bottom due to recent events, and it's natural. It's very understandable from a society and perspective to feel that way. But then we need to move towards to what actually we can do, what's within our controls. And those 5 pillars that we build the company in, all of them is to be applicable throughout the facility life cycle. And from a tailings management perspective, that needs to come into mind from day one, from your design, when you're designing the facility there, what's going to be your closure plan? We've dealt with sites that the facilities, they were designed in the 80s, 70s, 40s. The closure plans, they were kindly different. The hot deal for closure plan in the 90s was water covered. Today, we don't see that as the preferable choice, I would say, because we understand that the water would increase the potential of the slide flow if a facility were to fail. So now what we also seen is a lot of more regulators tightening the license to expand some of the facilities. And at the same time, we see increase in the demand from critical minerals and ore. So therefore, if we need to mine more, we're going to generate more tailings, right? So then the circular economy comes into mind. Can we do something with that tailings? There is a lot of projects going on. There is a lot of partnerships in between mining companies, university consortiums to understand what can be the final destination of that tailings. Or can we also adopt alternative tailings disposal methodology? There is a huge consortium that I was part on. It calls Geostable. Probably all the big mining companies are in there, and they are studying a way to commingle the material, the waste rock with the tailings. So the tailings would just fill the waste rock voids and see if that, what would be the long-term impact from a geochemical stability, which is the biggest unknown, and the geotechnical stability. From the geotechnical stability, we do believe it's going to increase because there is no void in there. But the geochemical stability in that one might be a huge unknown so far because nobody has done in the long term, right? But yeah, Circular mining, it's a big one from a tailings management perspective to deal with all this already deposit tailings. And for new projects and the continuance of projects that have extensive life of mine, understanding that the innovation component and the technology component to look for alternative tailings disposal methodology, it's going to be very much required from us.
That's beautifully said. And I can definitely see all the five different pillars at work in even just that topic. I mean, definitely clear that the company has been built around those the governance, risk management, critical controls, instrumentation, and technology. And you made it clear that your work is it's not really for operational geotechnical engineers, but more for corporate leadership and decision makers. And that experience spans multiple jurisdictions like as you said, Canada, Brazil, Peru, USA, and Australia. What would you say that makes your approach different? And why would a mining company choose Fab5 over a traditional consulting firm?
That's a good question. And when I was building the company, that was the question that I asked me the most. And one thing came to mind was most of the geotechnical consulting companies, you're going to hire them to deliver you a single goal. I don't deliver a goal. I deliver a system. And those consulting companies, they're going to be plugged into the system. I deliver a robust system that's going to be functional for you to manage your geotechnical assets. So the UR interactions, the ITRB, the engineer of record interaction, the independent tailings or technical review board interactions, all your geotechnical assurance, it's all there combined. So senior management can visualize and be assured that their facilities are being managed according to the best available practice and technology. And that's what you do. Because what we understand is, and you mentioned that, from a technical perspective, very little of those failures, they had a technical component that was screamingly wrong. Our geotechnical engineer capacity, all the engineers that design and operate those projects, they are capable. They are professional. They are engaged in professional associations. They have masters. They have PhDs. But the company system, it's something that's not let them shine. Something in the system is kind of broke. That maybe the communication chain, maybe the organizational design of that company itself is not aligned with the strategic priorities. And also, it's hard for us engineers and geoscientists as well to understand and to communicate in a language that can be very understandable for senior management. We do have that difficulty. And that's like soft skills. When we're dealing with engineer of records, a lot of them, they are very good in soft skills, but some of them need to be developed. And that's probably one call for our industry, that we should train our engineers and geoscientists to learn the corporate language and how to communicate the risk.
Me myself, I come from a project management perspective. I'm a project manager, and that's a lesson that we learned kind of early on, that the one thing that will really revolutionize your project costs nothing: how to communicate. And I believe that that's definitely something that can definitely be applied here in any industry, whether you're in the industrial, mining, e-commerce, anything. So in terms of communication, in terms of just being able to understand the system that you're building, is the challenge adoption of like a new technology, or is this new technology that you're offering, or new methods, or is this just like a different approach that's always been available, but just presenting it to people who are not using it? What would you say the challenge of adoption here?
The challenge, first of all, it's understanding what a system is. And people usually think system as a piece of software, but system, it's the integration of processes, right? And
Oh yeah.
and I've heard at least a lot of times through conferences and technical discussions that our industry is siloed. The geotechnical engineer is siloed. The tailings itself, because we are details of the process, we are more siloed than ever. We just manage a liability. If people still struggle to understand what a system is, for them to understand the importance of a governance, it's a different one. I'll give you a simple analogy here. Everybody knows how to drive a car, and every single car comes with a manual, right? In that manual, we have every single thing that you need to know about the car. how to properly drive, how to connect every single piece of cable, but you don't read it because we think we know enough, right? That's the reality. And in the mining industry, what I've seen is it's a very similar scenario because the engineers and geoscientists, we are so um, goal oriented and focused oriented on that design and that piece of equipment that or the facility that we are building. We forget how to communicate things that for us is so simple, but for the people making the decision who hold the financial burden of the company, they have a difficult to understand. So I would say it's not something 100% new, but it's something that was built after a major failure, the biggest failure in the tailings management industry, in a multinational landscape that has been designed, implemented, and validated. That's what we build, and that's what we share with the industry.
Beautifully said. And being able to identify the challenges and how to overcome them is definitely the first step. And especially in an industry that is traditional, very traditional, it's important to be able to know how to communicate. You also mentioned that partnerships, especially with tech companies, are a big part of this year's strategy, particularly around the instrumentation, the technology, and just integration of data. So what would you say is new in terms of business growth and specific milestones or goals that you're aiming to hit by the end of this year?
For me and for the company as a whole, the idea is to increase 50% the company revenue. We had a pretty first year as a company, which was amazing. I was very blessed to build a career that people could trust and engage with me and trust that partnership. And for me to get into that 50% revenue increase and the 50% revenue from the previous year, partnerships, selected partnerships and strategic partnerships, they're going to play a huge role because as an entrepreneur, you don't build anything by yourself, even though the company is kind of was one of that. But for the next step, partnerships are going to be very, very much welcomed. And the reason why, again, goes back to the 5 pillars. Sitting where I sit on the spectrum of assessments, the governance assessment pretty much gives you the whole gap that can be easily identified through any management system. So if I identify the gaps in the instrumentation and the monitoring, surveillance, or process, or training, or critical risks, if I had the ability to have the right partners in place, I can hook them up, I can integrate them, or I can suggest them to the final client to say, hey, this is a trusted partner if we're facing an instrumentation problem. If we have a critical risk management problem, this is the other one. So those partnerships, they are a complement of those 5 pillars that I can easily diagnostic initially and bring the solution together with a more specialized company.
You're looking to expand 50% growth this next year, and that's an incredible goal. Definitely, I congratulate you for that. How do you anticipate to achieve that? Is that through particularly designing the case studies that you already have, strategic outreach, and then you definitely mentioned partnership. So what would you say is a requirement for someone to be a partner with you?
So the first of all, like the idea is my journey as an entrepreneur started, one thing I had in mind, and I put that as a goal. I don't sell hours anymore. I cannot see myself selling hours. If not, we just go and work for somebody else, right?
Exactly. Still a 9 to 5, it's still.
Exactly. So I decided to productize every single thing that I do, and all in the governance components, the critical risk management component, in the instrumentation component, they're all products. So through that product, I can maximize the return of investment of the client in the fastest way as I possibly can, because I don't charge per hour, right? It's just a product. If I give the product and have more clients, so I foresee the revenue is gonna increase by 20% only doing that. The remaining one is that strategic partnerships, and some of them, the reason why I look for strategic ones is we need to share common principles, right? We need to understand what are the values that we hold together? We don't want it to go in a strategic partnership with someone that we don't share the same values, because that is going to create a conflict later on. And that partnership is going to be very sensible in that sense. And those values are family, have your beliefs in something. I'm a very religious person. I have my faith, and I do believe for some of that the strategic partnership to work, sharing this common values. It's a good way to create a deeper connection, because in the end of the day, I need to develop the other person's product, and that person also needs to develop my product. So we rely on each other to keep that dream of the entrepreneur, the company, and the growth.
It's a great vision, and that's definitely a great value to be able to understand the types of partnerships that you're looking to associate with. So that's really incredible. Around the office and just around your teammates, is there any talk as to how artificial intelligence is being best used around your workflows, around your technology, around your solutions? Any particular way that you're seeing like a benefit of artificial intelligence?
One of the reasons
Right.
that I have my company operating in a low operational budget, it's because I leverage AI in its maximum capacity. I have a lot of bots working for me 24/7 to
That's very
keep
true.
on top of the news mostly. Every single time there's a different news on LinkedIn or tailings networks, like all these channels that have news related to the mining, a merge that's happening here and there. Somebody was bought. It's too much for one person or a team of a very few people to take care of. So I have a lot of bots that take care only of that piece from a news perspective. So I can be up to date with what's going on in the industry. There is another one just related to conformance and compliance. Our industry, the geotechnical and tailings management industry, probably is the one that is most regulated in the world from a mining perspective. So we have GISTM, then you have MAC TSM, then you have all the US regulations, then the Brazilian ones, and then you have ICode, UNCODE, CDA, and all these guys, they have the continuous improvement mindset. So every single year there's something new, something different. So for me to take care of the clients, take care of the business development, take care of the marketing, sales, and still keep up to date with the news and what's the newest on conformance and compliance and technical guidelines and standards, I rely on AI a lot. I'm a huge believer that AI it's coming to stay. Some of the partners that I have, they all use AI, especially from instrumentation, the surveillance as a whole. Imagine now that everybody's automating the instruments. And there are facilities, they have like 70 plus instruments in there, all of them automated and gathering data every 30 minutes, 1 hour. That's a lot of data for a human being able to assertively process that. So AI can do way more than that. And also can, if you have a historical or a legacy data, you bring in, AI can support you and understanding patterns, recognize them. It's like, hey, by the way, first shot here is coming, Canada. First shot, for those who don't know, it's like we're getting out of the winter, we come into the spring, so all this snow is gonna melt. Guess what's gonna happen? All the reservoir level is gonna go up. So acting proactively to say, hey, by the way, we expect you to increase in 2 meters your water level in the reservoir by the end of May. Therefore, you pump the water out of there, or you increase your gate capacity to discharge the water. So I think AI is a supportive technology, not a replacement technology. What we do as a human being is never going to be replaced. Our creativity, the connection, the communication piece. I think that's what makes it human. And AI is just going to enhance our capacity to do more and more effectively.
The leadership will never be replaced by AI, and that is what really drives the business growth in any industry. And AI is here to assist us, and that's great that your stakeholders are using it for assessing and data analytics, because that is ton of data. And I mean, for those who are not familiar with it, it's just even hard to just store it. So how could we
Yeah,
even read it? If we have AI assist us with the analytics, there has to be a QC, and we cannot just have completely generated AI, just let them take over. We would definitely have to have some sort of QC level to be able to
yeah,
actually take a look at it and make a decision. So
yeah,
that's great. And you use it for the alerts of the different events that are happening in the current news. I'd love to take a look at your chat bots at one time because we're using some bots also, but it seems like you guys are having a little more advanced in terms of I want to know what fuentes, what sources you guys are coming from, so we can talk about that.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
absolutely.
That's beautiful. So Fabrizio, if somebody wanted to get to know more about you, learn more about your company, or even get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
There's three ways. My Instagram, Fab da Silva underline
Instagram.
Fab5. There is a lot of free content in there. I post pretty much daily. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there for free. The other one is LinkedIn, Fabricio da Silva. Also, there's a lot of content on LinkedIn. I've been active on LinkedIn since the day I opened up the company, so there's a lot of stuff in there. And the website, fab5geosolutions.com. That's where you can know a little bit more about the company. There is opportunities. I was an athlete. I swam my whole life, so I have some sponsorship programs in there, scholarship programs in there as well. I do a lot of public speaking on college universities around Sudbury and in Brazil. So, and all of that I post on on those two social medias, Instagram and LinkedIn. So if I have an event, mining event, geotechnical tailings event, if I'm there, I'm probably gonna post on some of the social medias. And please feel free to contact, and I would love to chat with anybody that would approach me.
We'll leave the LinkedIn and the Instagram, the sites down below in the comments, so you may all take a look at it. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with me today, Fabrizio. It was a pleasure. Thank you to our audience for listening. We'll see you in the next one, and thank you so much for being here, Fabrizio.
Thank you.